From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Victor Beattie reporting Israelis are voting in national elections. Israelis are going to the polls today to decide whether Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of the conservative Likud Party deserves re-election to a fourth term or opt for his chief opponent, center-left Zionist Union leader Isaac Herzog. Mideast analyst Michael Fishback of Virginia's Randolph Macon College says smaller parties may determine the outcome.
The Israeli debate over the decision to include the ultra-orthodox in the military's draft, constant complaints among secularists that the state spends too much money on supporting the religious. There is an entire, despite what you mentioned, which is true about foreign policy, there are a lot of domestic issues. Everything from the high cost of housing to, as I said, the secular-religious divide, which seems to be just getting worse in Israel.
The latest pre-election surveys show Mr. Netanyahu trailing by several points, Mr. Herzog. A U.S. official has been released from a brief detention in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The government says a raid of a Kinshasa news conference Sunday resulted in the arrest of dozens of journalists and activists. U.S. State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki Monday identified the American as USAID employee Kevin Sturr.
We have not been officially informed as to why he was detained. He was attending a press conference about a civil society event that brought Congolese youth together with several youth activists from the continent to exchange ideas about the importance of civil engagement in the political process. That was where he was when he was detained, and our ambassador in Kinshasa has raised this at the highest levels with the DRC government.
A DRC government spokesman said the country's intelligence service believed the meeting was organized by what he called instructors in insurrection. This is VOA News. Kurdish forces in Iraq are investigating two more possible chemical weapons attacks by the Islamic State group. The allegations follow similar claims made Saturday by Kurdish officials who said militants used chlorine gas to target Peshmerga forces. The Kurdistan Region Security Council says a laboratory analysis found chlorine traces in samples from the scene of a bombing between the IS-held city of Mosul and the Syrian border. The Obama administration is reportedly abandoning plans to cut the number of U.S. troops in Afghanistan to 5,500 by year's end, amid requests from military leaders to keep more troops there. Although no final decision on numbers has been made, the officials say most of the nearly 10,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan are expected to stay well into next year. Josh Earnest is a White House spokesman.
I can tell you that the president, as has been publicly reported, has been closely consulting with his national security team and with his commanders on the ground, as he has over the course of the last several years that this strategy has been executed, about the proper pace of that military drawdown.
An official announcement may come next week when Afghan President Ashraf Ghani meets his American counterpart, President Obama, in Washington. The top UN envoy in Afghanistan says recent reports indicate the IS group has established a foothold in the country. Nicholas Haysom told the UN Security Council that IS has not stuck firm roots in Afghanistan yet, but it has the potential to, quote, offer an alternative flagpole to which otherwise isolated insurgent splinter groups can rally. A UN panel investigating Eritrea says it found clear patterns of human rights violations and a total absence of the rule of law in that East African country. The chairman of the UN Commission of Inquiry, Mike Smith, addressed the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva Monday.
Where detention centers are official and unofficial, above ground and underground, metal containers in forbidding heat, or mere fences with no shelter for inmates in punishing cold, where once in one of them there is a likelihood that you will be subject to torture, to extract a confession, or to simply punish behaviors.
Eritrea's ambassador rejected the report, saying it's based on what he called unreliable, unproven, and sensational information. An American healthcare worker being treated for Ebola that was contracted while in Sierra Leone has deteriorated to critical condition at Maryland's National Institutes of Health, where he was transported Friday. The clinician, who has not been identified, tested positive for the deadly virus while volunteering with Partners in Health at an Ebola treatment unit. The United States and Germany have vowed to continue punishing Russia with sanctions for its annexation of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula and warned of new measures if Moscow fails to fully back a ceasefire that it endorsed last month. I'm Victor Beattie, VOA News.
That's the latest world news from VOA.